Brosplay! Okay, today's your special day. It's a moonlight tunnel. We're gonna go and kill some mother clay.
That sort of rhymed. That was pretty good. No, or not.
You ever do Dr. Seuss rhymes with people, with normies?
Like just really basic rhymes? Or what do you mean, like iambic pentameter type rhymes?
Iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
Every time you tell me that. Every time.
The only reason I remember is because that's how I write poetry too.
No, like if you had a friend named Jeff and you were like,
What the fuck is going on here?
You're just like, I went to the store. I work with Jeff. Something bit of dough, and now there's nothing left. It impresses people frequently.
Oh, that rhyming scheme,
Yeah,
that sound.
I did that at work one day. And,
Oh, there she is. That fucking.
what is happening with that camera?
It's because this chick has been invisible the whole time.
So you're like, the camera's getting stuck on her?
Yeah, I think that's what's been happening. Gotta wait for her to go back in her full form. Fuck you.
See, this is the funny thing. I think you might have said off air that one of the guys sounded like he wasn't voice acting, like they just told him to just speak. And I think Hollow Knight does a really good version of that, where they have all the characters sound like they're very basic people. It's just like, oh. So you feel a connection to them because they sound like people. They don't sound like they're super well voice acted, but it's like a nice little thing. Whereas in this game, it kind of breaks your suspension of disbelief.
Well, yeah, the way the kid's like, I'm over here, come rescue me.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah, that's totally how people who are trapped by little monsters talk.
Isn't there a demon girl in Draken?
In Draken?
That just like came back to me. I'm pretty sure there's a demon girl in that game. And she's like, please help me. And then you open up the gate and she turns into a monster.
Jesus.
Maybe that's a different game. That sounds so much like Draken though.
I definitely don't remember that shit, but we absolutely have to play Draken. Whichever one it was we played as when we were young. I don't actually remember.
I forget what it's called.
It's got Gate in it. It's
Ancient Gate?
Ancient Gate,
Yeah, the Ancient Gate.
That's what it's called.
I remember. It's just like contemplating telling this story.
Do it.
We were just like, we wanted to buy that game when we were kids, and then we brought it to Mom, and she's like, don't you have enough games? And you're like, don't you have enough shoes?
Did I actually say that?
And we were in a store, and there was like a saleswoman, and her and me were both like,
dude, that's like me talking to my teacher and telling him to control his classroom.
Control your class.
In a way, that argument is still valid because, yes, we have plenty of video games. We don't need a new video game, but this one's going to give us something the others wouldn't. Do you need more shoes? No, but this pair will give you something the others wouldn't.
Right. The point, though, is like the way that you say it.
Yeah, it's about how you say it.
Because like one thing that just never goes down easy is when you go and you say something, someone says, things, we've always done things this way. And so someone brings up some extreme example about how things used to happen. Mm-hmm. It's like, it usually doesn't work when that thing is aimed directly at them, Like if a woman were to say something and you're just like, yeah, well, this and this and this about women in the past. It's like, you're not going to get your point across. Even if you don't agree with how things used to happen, you're just not going to get your point across because you're putting them in the spotlight. And you're also like making it sound like you are actually saying that you wish things were the way they used to be.
Well, and you're adding ego to it. Right, and that just makes everything more complicated.
It also kind of sounds like what you're saying is that like you're like a great person for agreeing with people having rights or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, things used to be different around here. I mean, I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I think in some ways there's kind of, maybe people can be offended that someone might assume they would be offended. Know what I mean?
Say that again.
So
somebody might be offended.
So if I were to say like, not bring something up in front of you, and you're like, you can fucking talk about it in front of me. I'm an adult, that kind of thing. You get upset because I'm avoiding it. Like today at work, this guy expected so much more from me, physically. I couldn't believe like he wanted me to throw something that was like a fucking 100 pounds.
Jesus.
In my head, I'm like, I'm gonna take that as a compliment. I don't know who would look at me and think that guy can huck 100 pounds, but whatever. I'm not gonna take that offensively. But like, it was like one of those moments where like someone might take it offensively. But I've been in that situation where like, someone thinks that I don't want to hear something, and I'm like, you can fucking say it, man.
Yeah, well, people definitely have cultivated that, right? Like, we live in a time where people kind of want you to believe that everybody is soft and sensitive, right. Even though it's not always true.
In high school, I believed that it was wrong of me to speak, I guess, what do you want to call it, like gutter mouth, or not gutter mouth, but like the way that dudes talk when it's just dudes. You know what I'm talking about? Is there a word for that?
Oh yeah. Not locker room talk.
Locker room. That's it. I knew there was a fucking thing.
Yeah, that's where guys spend all their time in the fucking gutter.
The locker room talk I used to think was like wrong to speak about that way around. I guess I would have considered the women at the time. It was probably more like girls.
Yeah, young female people.
Young women, and
calling them young women and young men is just so not true. So off the mark.
No, most people are
high school kids.
Most people are boys and girls until they're like 20.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fuck, I didn't think I was an adult until like last year.
You basically only upgrade from child to kid when you go into university. And then maybe when you started working, you can become an actual adult.
But anyway, so I thought that was something wrong with that. Like, I didn't want to be that like guy from the 90s, movie or whatever that was like fucking Chad, who's like, oh yeah, women. And so I always try to be respectful, but what it ended up meaning is that either everyone thought I was gay, or they just thought I was kind of boring because I wasn't willing to say anything, right?
Oh, I see.
Until I just started hearing women say pussy all the time, and I'm like, yo, I thought I wasn't supposed to talk like this in front of women. It turns out a lot of them like it. A lot of them like it when you fucking talk to them like that, like they're not a lady.
Isn't that weird how they're people?
Yeah.
It's so unusual.
How they're not the opposite side of a fucking, like, war.
And that's the crazy thing.
A warring tribe.
Anyone that thinks that men or women are this thing that's not a people.
Well,
we're all people.
We're all people first.
Yeah.
We really are people
Absolutely.
First.
Number one, we're all people. And the worst thing that you can do is assume that you and the other group aren't going to get along. Like, you know, I don't like men. I don't like women. Shut the fuck up. You've met bad people.
What I do is
that's probably what's happened.
I try to watch people who do well, like who do well with lots of people, and I'm like, what do they do differently? And part of it is with me. I just like there's just so few types of people, I guess you could say, that I like, that anyone who doesn't fit into that category, I'm kind of just like, whatever. I just don't really want to spend any time, and they might try to like be my friend, and I'm like, eh. Whereas like someone like my buddy Dane accepts anybody. Like that guy can go anywhere. Just walk into a bar and people will know him and be like, yeah, that fucking guy Dane, what a cool guy. Because Dane just accepts everybody who's around. And that's not I mean, it's not really a secret, but like that's his success, is that he just accepts whoever he's around, and just, you know, he is himself as soon as he meets you. And if you don't like him, then he just doesn't worry about it. Whereas I'm so worried that you won't like who I am that I don't ever show you who I am.
It creates the opposite problem.
Yes. Well, people are nervous around the person who doesn't talk.
Yeah, you made one of the greatest points that I've ever heard when it comes to personal relationships. Just because you don't say words doesn't mean you don't make an impression.
Wow.
Right? You go to a party, you say nothing, everyone remembers you as being the quiet guy. Right?
Yeah, they don't know anything about you.
You can't assume because you don't say anything that no one has an impression of you. They're gonna have that impression either way.
Dude, fucking Michonne almost got murdered in The Walking Dead because she didn't speak to anybody. Nobody trusted her, and the governor was like, give me Michonne, and then he like considered it.
That's right.
And then flash forward to season 6, and they're fucking together. Like Rick and her, like they're fucking mommy daddy.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, it was like someone I was watching it with it. I was like, why don't they trust Michonne? They're like, she doesn't fucking talk. Nobody knows her. She's just that silent lady with a sword. Of course you wouldn't trust her.
Something else I've noticed is that there's a lot of people who they don't have any tolerance for other people making mistakes or being silly or just not doing things exactly the right way. And then they wonder why people don't like them.
Right.
It's because you don't give anyone leeway.
Yeah.
If you always start off assuming other people are wrong, you will behave around them as if they're wrong, and that won't make them feel good. It's something that you were talking about, looking at people who succeed and trying to figure out what they do. Really, at the end of the day, you got to decide what you want. What Dane wants is to be comfortable around the people he's around. That's what he wants at the end of the day. And so he accomplishes that by just not caring who he's around.
Yeah.
And that works for him.
I can't, like, the groups of people that I have seen him hanging out with is amazing. Like,
he's a human version of a capybara.
Sure. You know that character in every comedy that, like, the main character goes off and does something and leaves the comic guy in a bar, and he comes back and he's like the king of the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like that. Like, I've just like come back to places like we're like in like just like a public place, and he's just made friends. And he's like, oh, these are these people, and I'm like, hi. And then they're like, oh, it's this guy. And then they figure out that's why Dane and I are friends, because Dane is the guy who makes friends, and I'm the guy who repels them, and together we make a really great average person.
Something I started doing a long time ago was I realized, very much the same way with exercise, everything in life, there are things you think will make you happy and things that'll actually make you happy. And you got to focus on trying to do the things that'll actually make you happy. Like, for example, no one jumps at the chance to visit family, for the most part.
Oh, I do.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was supposed to be serious or not. It took me a minute.
No, I do.
Oh, you jump at the chance for family events?
Yeah? You will text me, like, are you down for this thing on this day? And it's usually like a month ahead, and I don't even know what's gonna happen that day. I'm just like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because I'm down.
And
I guess if it was happening like every week, then yeah, maybe I would be more hesitant.
Well, because that's part of it. We visit one family every week for sure. Sometimes two families in a weekend.
Yeah, we have a small family.
Right. So, you kind of have that feeling like, oh man, I feel like I would enjoy my day more if I stayed home and got things done that I wanted to get done. But when the day's over, you'll feel better with family memories than you will with just having sitting around on your own.
Absolutely.
Like, same with exercise, same with anything. And I think it's the same when it comes to meeting people. Like, it's not fun talking to people you don't really know that well. It's not as enjoyable as talking to people that you know. But when you're done with it, you feel better about it because you've met somebody new, you've got a new experience. And I think that's what Dane's doing. He's like, oh yeah, like, I know all these people now. And all I had to do was sit through a little bit of...
know a shit ton of people.
Right, a little bit of uncomfortable conversation, and now he knows all these people.
He left to live in Alberta to make more money because the wage is so high there because there's so few people, or so few workers rather, and quit eventually on like the off season, traveled all the way by a car down west, down through the States, down into Mexico, then flew to Cuba, had vacation with his family, then went to BC, not Alberta. Found a new place with a different friend and a new job. He is not tied down to anything, whereas
Chaotic.
I am so tied down to stuff. You know, like before I wanted to stay in town because you're here. Before it was just like, oh, I just have an apartment, or oh, I have this job. I was like, this is like always a reason for me to not leave because I care so much about familiarity and I hate traveling and I don't like learning new things. I've been eating basically the same thing almost every single day for years with slight variations because I know how to make it. Fucking minute rice.
Well, that's what most successful people tend to say, though, is that your comfort zone is what will kill you.
Oh, dude. Dom, the new album of Brockhampton, Dom says that my shelter was sheltering me from things I was supposed to be dealing with, or something along those lines. Yeah, and I did that for years. I hid from things I was afraid of. There was a point when I was in college when I totally should have been getting a job. And mom kept saying, you need to get a job. and I lived with her at the time, and I so wanted to avoid the conversation about getting a job that I denied getting a ride home from her. I took the bus every day just to not have the conversation about getting a job. It's like avoiding someone you live with because they're going to tell you something you're supposed to hear is a really unhealthy way to live.
And that
was what was happening. And it was like, it wasn't even subconscious. I was completely aware of what I was doing at the time. I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to have that conversation right now. It's still going to happen. The house wasn't that big.
Yeah, exactly. Just because you don't have that forced moment.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I needed to hear, was you need to get a fucking job. Which was the reality. Work or school was not that hard for me to have a good reason not to get a job.
And sometimes you do have to have those tough talks. Like someone's just got to spell it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
in the end, though, it's like you have to want to do it. It doesn't matter how many other people are telling you and how many steps they take. And I got a couple friends who like keep telling me about design jobs in town, and I keep saying thank you, but like in the end I don't really think I want to do it for other people. I think that's all it is.
Yeah, and it was like you said, you have to do it for yourself. But the car ride thing, that's something that's
it's pretty egregious.
No, but it's the car ride in general is what I'm talking about. That is so common that's where all those hard conversations happen because you're trapped. And something I really appreciated is that in Joe Rogan's most recent special, he makes a joke and then he says, gonna be a lot of awkward car rides home. I know you laughed at that joke.
And I loved that special. That was fucking great, man. I laughed so fucking hard at his whole bit about cats. This fucking tiny psychopath just living in your house. Like, your dog does something bad, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. Like, you're mad at me. I'm mad at me. What was I doing?" Whereas the cat's like, "Yeah, fucking I did it. Fucking come at me."
His impersonations of animals are unbelievably uncanny.
Yeah, they're so good.
It's weird.
So, he has these ideas, as we call them, and I forget what it was, but it was so on point. It was such a smart idea. Fuck, I wish I remember what it was though. It was just one of those things like shower thoughts, essentially. But, yeah, that's a very good special. Strange Times, that's what it's called.
Strange times. We really are strange times, brother.
They're always strange.
No, not like this.
No, they always have been. They've always been fucking weird, man. Everything's always weird because you're in it.
Okay, well, let me reference Joe again. Today he said, if you're listening to this podcast, you exist in a period of time that has never existed before and would be completely impossible in any other time. You know, you're using one technological device that, for me, fits in my pocket and allows me to listen to Joe Rogan in Los Angeles talking to somebody.
I think that's like if you have 100 numbers and you say that 49 is the only 49 in the set of numbers. They're all different in their own way. There was a time when you could where you could take 50 guys and you could find any village with less than 50 people and capture or kill them and take their shit. You can't do that here anymore. That's unlike that time. I think that this is strange the way that any other time period is strange. They're all fucking weird and they all have things you can and can't do based on that time period.
I agree with what you're saying, but I don't agree with your analogy about 49 being the only one that's like that.
Well, of course, yeah, I mean, because technologically speaking, it's a huge leap. Technology usually doesn't do that. Like we've hit an exponential spot, and that's definitely weird. But
and that's what I mean, man. That we as humans have lived in this world that hasn't really changed a tremendous amount very quickly for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then suddenly there's this period of explosion and we just happen to be born in that period of time.
Oh, we're definitely lucky on the time period, yeah.
Well, because would you really want to be born into an era where you never experienced dial-up? Where you went straight into fast, always available internet?
See, Jake from Clutchers is 6 years younger than me.
Oh.
And he, there are so many things he doesn't know about stuff that like we experienced. Like he was like, what is high-speed internet? I don't understand what that means. I'm like, well, you used to have to fucking connect to the internet and it was a process.
It was a real process,
And it was a
man.
loud process. And then you couldn't use the phone. And he's like, what?
That's so true. There is no high-speed internet. There's just internet, and then idiots still have dial-up.
He might have been fucking with me, who knows? Some places still have dial-up, though. Some countries don't have internet or regular internet access.
I believe that. I definitely believe that. But here, dial-up just doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's not even worth bringing up half the time.
Yeah, well, I bought a flip phone recently for very cheap. And this thing would have been banging in the 90s. This would have been like an amazing piece of equipment.
Well, and that's why I never buy anything immediately.
Yeah.
Because if you buy, like, what? So, would you rather buy this today for $10,000 or buy it tomorrow for $7,000?
Have you seen like the original USBs?
No.
Like original computer transfer technology was like so big you had to crane it into places.
Actual USBs?
No, what I mean is like the idea of a USB, like a computer information transferring device was like a crane size, and it held 500 megabytes.
So the first portable drive is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a USB actually stands for the connection, not
It's
like
no, actually, it's a universal serial bus.
exactly, which is the connection. So if I say I have a USB, what I really mean is I have a thumb drive.
But the bus part means to carry passengers. Right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The slot in your computer is the universal serial bus, and then you hook into that universal serial bus.
Oh,
and it allows you to transfer information from your thumb drive.
USB port.
Yeah.
And we've been calling them drives because they go in the USB port.
Because it's a little thumb drive that goes into a port.
But my mouse plugs into the USB port, and we don't call it a USB mouse. We just call it a mouse.
Sometimes we do, but it's a little extraneous.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, the more you know.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The less you care.
Good point. No. No. Yeah, good point.
All right, thank you for joining us. Next time...
Skills that kills.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
You do you.